In Mark chapter 14, verse 32 to 42, we read about Jesus going to Gethsemane on the eve of his crucifixion. There is a couple of things I want to highlight for us from this passage. First of all, when he takes Peter, John and James aside and goes to Gethsemane, he says these words to them in verse 34. "My soul is very sorrowful unto death. Remain here and watch." Some of the translations will say, "My soul is troubled." Brothers and sisters, in this time it is normal for us to feel troubled. It's normal for us to be distressed. It's normal for us to be anxious. But we need to take the cue from Jesus himself. When he was anxious and when he was distressed, he went to the garden to pray to his Father. But let us look at what he prays. In verse 36 we read, "Abba Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I will, but what you will." Jesus acknowledges that the Father loves him. He calls him Abba Father. It is a term of endearment. He knows that the Father cares for him. And he knows that the Father can remove this cup from him. He acknowledges that God is all-powerful, that God can change the situation. And yet, he submits his will to the will of the Father and says, "Not my will, but your will." In this time, let us pray for God to bring an end to this virus and an end to the troubles in the world. Let us pray with confidence that we have a Father who cares and a Father who can and will change things. But at the same time, let us submit our wills to God and say, "Father, let your will be done." Because even in these troubling times, he will be glorified and he will accomplish his will. But there's a last part that we sometimes miss from this. And this is that Jesus went to his disciples 3 times and woke them up from their slumber and said, "Remain awake, be watchful and pray with me," even though they fell asleep repeatedly. I think it is important that we encourage each other to pray. We should go to those that are sleeping and wake them up and say, "Pray with me." We should bring them into the prayer life. We shouldn't just let them sleep. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, it says. Let us encourage each other in this time to pray. Let us go together to the garden. Let us pray to the Lord of our salvation.